Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, or if you're listening to this on Spotify, welcome back to the podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about how rushing is actually what's delaying your happiness, your fulfillment, your success. Rushing is resistance, and resistance slows you down. So that's why rushing actually slows you down. It's resistance to yourself right now, and it's resistance to your life right now. And the thing is, all you have right now is you right now in the present moment, and whatever is before you right now in the present moment. And that's the ticket to change. Whatever you want, you've got to play the hand that's been dealt to you. You need to use what you have inside you and use what you have outside you to the best of your ability to align with what you prefer. And you actually have everything. And this might ruffle a few feathers, but I will break it down. You actually have everything. You internally have everything you need to align with the experience that you want in this life. You already are the version of you who's on your desired timeline, okay? That version of you has just removed some blockages, has just healed from some traumas, and has just rewired some limiting beliefs. Maybe they've gained some skill in some area, okay? Maybe they perceive things differently because they've removed all this other stuff that's stopping them from perceiving things, but it's just you. It is you. You're exactly who you need to be to align with what you prefer. You're already that person. The other part of that is you actually have everything you need right now to start aligning with what you prefer. Think about it. You wouldn't just be left. It wouldn't make any sense for you to be left in this random dimension, like floating in a far off space in this matrix reality, a million, trillion, zillion miles away from the thing that you desire, with not one choice available to you right now that you could take that would start moving you towards that desire. There is at least one choice that's before you. There's at least one play that you can make right in front of you to your advantage to get you moving in that direction. Because if it's on your heart, if this desire is coming from your body and your soul, not your ego and your head, then I guarantee you, there's a choice in front of you that you're going to be able to make that's going to start getting you there. The problem is you're not going to be able to see and perceive the choice if you're rushing through your life in survival mode. And that's the catch. So, what a relief. Can we all just take it down a few levels? This survival mode, this rushing, this forcing through reality that you've been programmed with, I have fallen victim to it too. And I have been spending the last few months doing everything I can to get myself out of that program. And you've been kind of watching me, if you've been watching these podcast episodes the last couple of weeks, go through this process of realizing that I have this pattern myself of rushing, of forcing, of hustling. And the more I disconnect from that energy of being in my head, of over burning out in my masculine energy, of hustling, of forcing things too much, the more I come away from that and I lean back into my flow and my surrender, my creativity and my intuition, the more amazing things happen. Like the most miraculous things have happened to me when I followed my intuition in favor, like instead of what made sense logically. Okay, anytime I've done that, it has led me to something incredible. Anytime. And, you know, I spent a long time doing what made sense logically. I spent a long time rushing and hustling and trying to build a life that made sense on other people's terms. And that really brought me nothing but sadness and limitation and stress and anxiety and all of that stuff. And misalignment is the big one. Feeling like I didn't even know who I was or if I even had a purpose or if there was even any meaning to life as a whole. Life does have meaning. You do have a purpose, if not, a few purposes. You can live a purposeful life that's in alignment with you, authentically, who you really are. The issue is when you're in survival mode and you're rushing through life and you're forcing in your logic all the time, you're basically living from a program that your ego inherited by your environment. And that's not who you truly are. So the decisions that you make, the choices that you can even perceive in front of you when you're in that state are not going to usually be congruent with your truth. And you're not going to be able to perceive the things that are going to be able to bring you into alignment, because that's not the frequency that you're operating on. You're operating on a frequency of survival. You're operating on a frequency of rushing. And through all of this rushing, you're missing the shit that's right in front of you that you can actually do, that's actually going to bring you into alignment. So if we look at society, most people inherit from their environment, from their family, a program, which is a way of believing, a way of thinking, a way of acting that is based on fear. And you might be thinking, well, I'm not running around screaming all the time. I'm not scared. You are, though, running mentally, constantly, from things like potential scarcity, limitation, poverty, unworthiness, lack, abandonment, rejection. Most people are walking around in these clouds of problems and limitations and worries and self-criticisms and projections onto others. And that cloud is just a way of thinking that your ego was programmed with when you came here from your environment. Some of it could have been from maybe some painful experiences you went through, but other than that, it's just stuff you picked up from people around you. And that's not your inherent essence. Your soul is limitless. It is unlimited. And the core of who you are is unconditional love, is absolute wholeness, oneness with everything, purity, perfection. So you're like a drop in the infinite ocean that is God, that is Source. And being a drop, you have the qualities of the whole. You are creative, you are whole, you are one, you are everything. That's your essence, and that's where you came from. The way that you start accessing that part of you again is you stop buying into the temptations, the lies of the ego. Now, what do I mean by that? You've got to start realizing that your ego is always going to be based on intensity and fear and limitation. It's always going to be pushing you to fill some kind of void. But that spiritual side of you, your soul, is whole and is always going to be operating from a place of wholeness. So even if we look at the scale of consciousness, on the lower level emotions, you've got like greed, anger, apathy, all of these emotions. And then on the higher level emotions, you've got love, joy, enlightenment, etc. Once you cross the threshold from lower to higher, you're moving out of ego-based emotions, aka survival mode, and you're moving into heart-led emotions, soul-led emotions. So we know that when you move out of the lower level emotions and states of consciousness, and you start rising up into things like love and joy and acceptance, your perception expands. You're able to see so many more possibilities that were in front of you the whole time. You just couldn't see them because your level of consciousness wouldn't permit you. And when you're fully identified in the ego, and especially when that ego is identified fully with survival mode, that's when you start burning yourself out in lower levels of consciousness, because you can only perceive certain actions. You can only perceive your problems. You can only perceive the things that are wrong with you in your life. then you start running from yourself, from your reality. And then you get caught in this perpetual feedback loop of rushing through your life and not ever being able to perceive of the intrinsically really good things about you that are already there, and the actions that are in front of you right now that you actually could take that would lead you to embody your desired reality, which would lead you to then have it already, which would lead you to then be able to just have it physically. So I know from experience that being tapped into my intuition requires me to slow down. I have to become still and present to hear my intuition the loudest. And I also know that intuition is the secret sauce. Like, that is the decisions that you make based on your intuition. That's basically you exercising your God creative power in this world. They can't be defined with your logic, with your program. They're coming from your kind of inner creative power that was gifted to you by source. So the decisions that you make based off of that, even when they don't make sense, they're the ones that align you with your soul's most aligned timeline. And I just know that life gets to be so fucking fun and so playful and so exciting and magical when you're tapped into your intuition and you're letting it guide you and you're following it, okay? And you're really trusting it through your life. I know that from experience. But that ego survival driven part of me is so deeply rooted and embedded that I'm still in a little bit of a dance with it. And I think it's really wearing off, so I'm going to be careful with my words. I don't think I'm in a dance with it really anymore, because now that I'm aware of the dance has lost its automatic hold on me. So I'll be careful with my wording there. I'm no longer in a dance with it, but I'm still being very aware of it. Because this week, boy, oh boy, did I want to give in to that hustle, to that survival mode, to that needing to rush and force things. It crept back in at the start of the week. So I was in flow last week. All weekend I was in flow. I was getting loads of work done. The part of my ego that gets very satisfied when I get work done was loving it. And when I started to get tired, the part of my ego that was loving me getting work done was like, no, don't stop, keep working. I was like, damn it, I can't listen to that voice. Normally I do. I was like, no, I can't. I let it kind of take me over for a day and a bit. I did keep forcing for a day and a bit. And guess what happened, you guys? My intuition got quieter. Why? It's not that your intuition actually gets quieter. It's that you stop listening to your body and you start listening to your head. You start listening to your ego, you start listening to your logic, and you stop listening to that intuitive flow state side of you. So the voice that you listen to gets stronger. Whichever one you're tuning into, that one will start to become your default. So I was listening a little bit too much at the start of this week to that ego-driven voice in me, because it was getting such a good kick out of me getting my work done, that when I stopped getting so much work done, it was like, no, go back, do more, keep working. And I was like, yeah, no, it felt really good to get work done. Let me just keep doing that and keep pushing. And my intuition was like, girl, just take a little break. Just take a little break. You're burning out. We've got no creative juices left for you. You need to go touch some grass. Guys, I wasn't even really in nature much. Like I really was so in flow that I kind of came out of my normal routines, and I wasn't really having as much alone time, having as much time in nature as that feminine energy side of me normally needs, right? That's my kind of, whatchamacallit. That's like my food for my intuitive side. So I wasn't feeding it. I wasn't really nurturing it. I was kind of just go. So she was depleted, okay? That feminine energy side of me, she was depleted. There wasn't enough play going on. There wasn't enough rest going on. And at this point, my ego had fully kicked in and was getting me to work. And I was listening to it. So after a day and a half of that, I was like, shit, damn it. Okay. My intuition has gotten harder for me to hear, which means I've tuned into my ego voice. I've tuned back into that part of me that wants to rush and hustle. And I know that that's not the fucking way. I know. Even though I know that, it doesn't make it wasn't making it any less difficult for me to decide to rest. Okay? So I had to really, really force myself to stop and slow down and actually tune back in to my intuition that was telling me it was not the time to keep forcing this creative project that I was working on. I really had to get myself to sit down and read my fantasy book and relax, and actually relax. Not like productive relax like I kind of normally do, but actually relax. Not listen to any content, not read any kind of educational material, but actually just relax and read fantasy fiction. Completely relax and detach. The whole time I was reading my book, the evening that I realized I had to do this, and I forced myself to finally take the reins and listen when I need rest, the whole time that ego voice was like, open your laptop, go do some work. You remember how good it was to be in flow. You can get back into flow. You can do it right now. And I actually tried to get back into flow. It didn't happen. Closed it again. I was like, no. My body is telling me to rest and I have to listen to my body. So I forced myself to stop. And I want to comfort you and just let you know that like that ego side of you, it is very tempting. That is the whole theme of the ego, is temptation. So all of these fear-based beliefs that you buy into, like all of that voice in your head that's telling you, if you do this, you're going to be worthy. If you do this, you're going to be successful. If you do this, you're going to be a millionaire. If you do this, it's going to mean you're good enough. If you do this, you're going to look cool, whatever. All of those things are very tempting, but they're not going to align you with your true potential as this expansive, heart-led, higher dimensional being that you are, right? It's not, like your ego is not going to be able to tap you into that energy. It's always going to keep you in limitation. Even though it feels tempting, it is always towards limitation. So I was like, okay, I have to be strong and I need to just let myself rest. And I honestly, that whole day where I was listening to my ego over my body and my head over my body, I was thinking so much more about my problems. I was thinking so much more about what I couldn't do. I was kind of starting to feel that weight on my shoulders when I woke up in the morning again. I wasn't feeling that like free, unlimited feeling that I know is right there inside me. So I was like, right, I'm going to rest. And I rested for an evening. I woke up the next day. My ego, because I felt bad, was telling me, oh, you can work your way out of this. No, I did try to work again. I was like, no. Literally, I was in this dance and I was like, no, relax. Once again, made myself unwind that evening and really chill out and disconnect. And when I finally took the time to just keep resting like that, I woke up like 2 days ago and I had that spark back. And that spark was detachment from the ego, was detachment from the need to rush. That spark was presence and connection with my body. That spark was my nervous system re-regulating and becoming grounded again into my energy. That spark is worth more than anything that this survival program, born in your ego, is telling you is so valuable. Nothing is more valuable than that inner spark that you get when you finally slow down and tune back into your body. Okay, because what happens then is your body is going to start giving you answers. So I have clients ask me sometimes, I thought of this thing that I wanted but then I was thinking this, and I don't really know which thought is the right thought. It's the one that feels like a yes in your body. And it's usually the one you feel immediately straight away that your mind and your logic then tries to talk you out of. It's the one that comes after stillness. It's the one that comes from presence. It's the one that just feels like a feeling rather than a thought. That's your intuition. So after I really just got that ego part of me to just shut the hell up and let me relax, I dropped back into my body I woke up in the morning, a lot of that weight was lifted, and I had a feeling to go to the gym. So I was like, okay. And once again, that ego voice, because I was giving it a little bit too much rein, it's a lot louder than it usually is. It started battling with me and going, well, no, because you shouldn't go, because you need to go and do this. And you need to rush and you need to finish that project. So this is what I mean. It's in a rush. It's in a big old rush to get everything done. It's resisting what's before me right now. It's resisting the idea of being present and slowing down and enjoying my day. Which is fucking bullshit. Because the more you enjoy today, the more good days are going to compound on from that, right? So I had, because I was giving that voice that wanted me to rush and hustle, I was giving it so much power the couple of days before. I had it come in and try to talk me out of going to the gym, try to talk me into sitting down at my desk and closing my blinds and locking in again. And I was like, no, my body fucking said, we're going to the gym. I don't care that it's a little bit later than when we normally go. I don't care that I do have something to finish today. I've got a few hours later on. I can do it then. My body's asking me to do this now. So I'm listening to that. So this is something I've experienced firsthand. That indecision is coming from your ego's need to rush and panic. And it really discombobulates you, but you've got to tune into your body and ask your body, okay, possibility A, go to the gym. How does that feel? Feels like a fuck yes. Possibility 2, sit down and finish that project. Feels like it, yeah, okay, go with A. And your ego will say, no, but if you finish this thing now, then it'll make more sense. No. My body wants this. So I went to the gym and I had the best training session ever. And I hadn't been to the gym since literally 6 days before that, okay? So I was thinking this might be really bad. I'm going to feel weak. No, I felt so strong. I felt so powerful. I had the best freaking training session ever. I had the best playlist going on. And I left feeling fully connected to my body because it was more than me just going to the gym. It was me saying, intuition, body, I'm here for you. You're back in the driver's seat. I'm with you. I'm taking your hand and we're going to do this together. So I was reconnected to my body. I was reconnected to my intuition. That's why it felt so fucking good. And life, when you're connected to your body and your intuition, is a celebration. Things get to be easy. You get to flow and you get to make decisions with confidence and with clarity and knowing that they're going to bring you good shit that you actually want in your life, okay? I know that I'm in a very fortunate position, by the way, to decide whether I get to go to the gym or whether I get to finish work. You know, I've worked really hard to put myself in this position where I have this freedom of time. However, this works, and you can apply what I'm talking about to indecision on any level. Like I do this now with every little decision that I make. I woke up this morning and I said, body, are you actually hungry or do I want to eat out of habit? And my body was like, no, I don't want food right now. Like, think about eating the food and swallowing it and it going into your body. Ask your body how it feels about it. If you need to make a decision between like pancakes or eggs or a smoothie or fasting for the morning, literally imagine each of those options and imagine how that feels in your body. Obviously, if you're on a meal plan or if you're prepping or if you're doing something, then you've got to adhere by that. But like, I now am living so in alignment with my intuition that I do this with food, I do this with what I'm drinking, I do this with how I reach out to people, I do this with every little decision that I'm making throughout the day. Because I know when I make the decisions in alignment with my intuition and with my body, that enables me to be the most powerful version of myself because I get to slow down and be present with myself. And only when you do that can you realize how fucking powerful you actually are. When you're constantly in your head running this survival-based program that's based on fears from the collective, you're going to be disconnected from your body and your worth and your value and your power. Period. The end. You're not going to know how powerful you are. You're not going to be able to see all the solutions, all the capabilities that you have when you're always running decisions through the survival mode. I know how insane it feels to be trapped in a prison of your mind and to know you want these big dreams, but to feel like you just are so fucking annoyed and frustrated and feel so limited and so just down and low that you can't figure out how to feel better or how to take the right actions. And then you start distracting yourself and then you start numbing yourself. I know what that's like. And I'm telling you, the way out of it is to stop rushing. And if you can't stop rushing, here's why. You've learned that you need this sense of urgency. You've learned it from the world. It's not your fault. And being in a rush gives you a sense of control and actually subconsciously makes you feel safe in a way. You fear slowing down. You fear the vulnerability that comes with slowing down. You might be afraid of what will happen if you slow down. You might, like I had, have an ego part of you that tells you, you're lazy. Oh, what are you doing? It's never going to happen now. You're just being lazy. All these judgments that society puts on being slow and going with the flow, those might come up for you when you slow down. So that's one part, is this urgency program that you've inherited from society. That benefits large corporations. For you to be in a rush, for you to be constantly triggering your nervous system into fight or flight mode, for you to be always stressed, always panicked, that benefits big corporations because it keeps you from realizing you've got everything you need. It keeps you from being present. And it keeps you numbing yourself with all these external things, which keeps you as a good consumer, basically. So part of it is what you inherited. The other part is you might be afraid to slow down and be present because there may have been certain things that have happened to you that you're storing energetically in your body. So trauma gets stored in your body, in your energy centers, you guys. So you can actually feel into any of your energy centers. I have a whole video on shadow work if you want to watch that. It's called Change Your Life by Embracing Your Shadow. You store the traumas of your past in your body. And when you slow down, you also sometimes have to have the courage to feel the emotions that you have repressed by running and rushing and distracting yourself for your whole life. So that's kind of your ticket back into your body and back into your intuition. Is sometimes you've got to sit through some really uncomfortable emotions that haven't processed yet. And you may want to do this with a practitioner through doing maybe somatic healing. You may also want to do some breath work, some yoga to help you release these things. There's a lot of modalities and things you can do. You can scream into a pillow, let yourself cry. Okay, so when I came back into my body earlier this week, I had a little cry. There was something that needed to come out. I don't even know what it was. Do I know what it was? Oh, I do know what it was. Yeah. It was something to do with masculine energies that I hadn't, wounded masculine energy that I experienced in the past that I hadn't released, that it got triggered. I was rushing so much that I didn't even know how much this was triggered until I slowed down and came back into my body. So me coming back into my body, I needed to have a cry. But after I had that cry, I really felt so much more connected to my body. So if you feel like you can't slow down and connect to your body, is because you're probably blocked by past traumas. And, there's so many things. If you even look up how to regulate your nervous system, you'll find a lot of stuff online to do that. But letting yourself feel your emotions is the ticket. It is the key. And I promise you, it is so worth it to do that. Feeling back into your life, into your body, and becoming present is the greatest gift you could ever give yourself. Because that's how you reconnect with the God consciousness, creative power that's within you, your essence. It's how you stop being fully identified with your ego, which is always going to keep you in limitation, and you start accessing that truly unlimited part of you. So I went from, being overly identified with my ego earlier this week, walking around in a cloud of all these problems and limitations, to suddenly feeling grounded and joyful and present and whole and just happy and content in my life. My life was exactly the same on Monday as it is today, but I feel like I'm in an entirely new dimension. I know now I have everything I need. I know internally I've got everything I need, and I know externally I've got everything I need. And nothing actually changed except for the fact that I stopped rushing. I stopped forcing. I stopped giving in to that survival program that my ego wants me to give into. And I came back into my body and I started listening to my body and my intuition again. That's the only thing that changed. And every single person has this divine component. You have this divine component within you. This is your essence. And when you tune back into it, life gets to be so much more easy, so much more playful, so much more aligned for you. You stop feeding into these false narratives of worth, of status, of all this shit that really doesn't matter to you. And you start just flowing in alignment with the things that do matter to you, okay? So I want just to reassure you, the light that you're looking for is really right inside you. You just have to come back home to it. You just have to slow down and stop rushing. That's going to be all for this week, guys. Please, this week, let yourself slow down. Actually, before we go, repeat after me. In your mind or out loud, I have time. I have time. I have time. Please know that when you slow down, you will become present to everything that's already inside you, that is going to allow you to align with the stuff that truly matters and resonates with you. It's already inside you. You've got everything you need. This big old rush that you've been in, that your ego has put you in, is what's stopping you from perceiving the value that you already have, the power that you already have, and the choices that are already available to you right now, okay? So please know, in realizing you have time, in slowing down, you're actually tuning out of this ego-based way of being in the world, of rushing and thinking in terms of months and dates and weeks and years. And you're tuning back into that higher dimensional aspect of you who thinks of terms in energy and vibration. You're not years away, you're not months away. You are actually only ever vibrations away. And when you slow down, you can tap into that. I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Please slow down this week. Realize how powerful you are. I hope you all have an amazing week, and I will see you all next Sunday.